Hey guys, what's up? This is LJS here, and I'm back with another deck profile. This time I'll be doing another sort of non-meta clan. I'll be doing deck profile on Great Nature's new, well, not really so new, Trainee Sage Minette. So yeah, he's a Fighters Collection card, and I know I'm late to the party as usual because he already has a Legion as well. But for now, I'll just do a deck profile on Minette. So for those of you who can't get a hold of the Legion, at least you can get a hold of Fighters Collection, you can still make this deck. So this is the Great Nature's new boss. Pretty good card. If you guys are familiar with Great Nature, if you played Leopard Reverse is another card which is really good as well. But Leopard Reverses focus on really good offensive power, whereas Minette's build focus a lot on draw power. This deck, you draw a lot. Like by the time when you write him, when his skill go off, you will most likely every turn have about 8 cards in your hand if you're able to get the combo pieces right. So yeah, and Great Nature is not really a good deck to. It's not really a easy deck to run because Great Nature skills can be quite complicated, and there's a lot of you really need to know how to play with the rulings of Vanguard. So for this deck profile, I will go through a detailed look at some of the skills because some people did mention in my previous video of the fight of my match with Minette. They did comment on how some of the skills do not stack, but I will explain to you that some of the skills they do stack, and how you can combo the skills a lot altogether and potentially draw, let's say, 8 cards in one turn or more, which is really good. So I'll go through the deck profile first, then I'll look at the skill. Finally, I'll follow up with some explanations of how the skills can combo and stack with each other, and some combos you can pull off in more detail. So for those of you who really want to understand how Great Natures work, do watch until the end. Okay, so first, let's get to the deck profile. So for starter, I run black. Sorry, this is my friend's deck. So his main deck is Great Nature, and he plays it really well. And this deck takes a lot of skill to play really well, and apparently it's a very good deck. Anyways, starter Blackboard Parrot. So his skill is that put him in soul, and a unit gains the skill of when he dies, draw a card. So good. He's useful for later when you combo with stuff, so you end up drawing a lot of cards. Oh yeah, and Great Nature emphasize a lot of killing your own rear guards. And some of you may not be comfortable killing your own rear guards, but this is how Great Nature works, and it's really good. So next, for grade 3s, I'm already quite far into the video, but yeah. Anyways, grade 3s, we run 4. Trainee Sage Minette. So his skill is kind of like a combination of Leopard skill. You give something power, and if it dies, you draw a card, and every time a unit dies, you unflip a damage. So quite good skill, quite good power, but I'll explain the skill in more detail later on. Next, I run 4 Break Rights because the Break Right for Great Nature is very good because it essentially works very well with what Great Nature does, and you can get a lot of draw power with him. And this deck runs stance, which I'll explain later. If on the Break Right turn you manage to get a stand trigger, you can actually draw an additional card. So effectively, his skill converts a stand trigger into a stand trigger and draw trigger, which is very good. So yeah, with his Break Right skill is a bit complicated, which I'll explain later. But anyways, 4 of him. Next, for grade 2s, we run the staple, what every Great Nature deck should have, 4 Binoculars Tiger. He is one of the main cards. Okay, he's a triple rare, so which is quite strange. He's the only triple rare in this whole deck. Ironically, it's a grade 2. But anyways, his skill is very important to give doping. Basically, Great Nature focus on doping, meaning giving 4k to a rear guard, and that rear guard dies. So he is one of the main enablers of giving 4k to a rear guard to power them up. And from there, when you die, you can pull off combos. So run at 4, must run at 4. Next, my friend runs 4 Pencil Knight Hamsuke. He is a 8k base, but despite being 8k base, his skill is really useful because when he dies, you can actually find a copy of himself by paying a counterblast 1. So it's like Bermuda's bouncing back in your hand, but not quite. But anyways, yeah. Then next, he runs 3 Compass Lion. He's a very good 11k base attacker as well as defense, a grade 2 11k base. And if you don't have Binoculars, you can actually use him as a backup enabler to kill things, because Great Nature, if nothing dies, nothing happens, because this deck really revolves around things dying for things to happen. Next, we run 4 Perfect Guards, which is really hard to find because it's really old. I really hope Good news, GBTO2 has Great Nature, so hopefully they have a new Great Nature Perfect Guard, yay, so that people can build Great Nature decks, which is really good. So yeah, 4 Perfect Guards, self-explanatory. Next, run 4, Wash Up Raccoon. Essentially, he's a improved version of Hamsuke. So, he's essentially almost the same skill as Hamsuke. Basically, when he dies, just for a copy of himself. And he's useful because he can help you recycle some cards back into the deck to prevent deck out, because this deck draws a lot of cards and you can actually deck out. Like if you watch one of my videos of this deck in action, you see that this deck actually decked out. Yeah. Next, he runs 3 Calling Dark Bills. The thing is, he only has 3 Calling Dark Bills, but ideally you probably want to run 4 Dark Bills, so you run 3 Raccoons and 4 Dark Bills, because Dark Bill basically helps you draw cards. And then he runs 3 Soft Tank Sloth. He's an unflipper for this deck because this deck can use quite a lot of Counter Blast, and ideally you want more Counter Blast available to use. Yeah. So next for triggers, run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stands. Okay, 8 stands because stands is really good in this deck, and stands actually combo really well with the Break Ride, which I'll explain later. And 4 crits. Ideally, you want to run the Chameleon Ruler version, because the Chameleon Ruler version has a skill that's same as Hamsuke and is really useful to help you search units from your deck. So you want to run more. You want to run that critical instead of this critical, but we don't have a copy of that. But anyways, yeah. Next, run 4 heals. So yeah, that's the trigger lineup. So let's go into the skills of each card. Okay, so starter. His skill is. Oops, I mean focus. My bad. Okay, his skill is activate during the main phase. Put him in the soul. Then choose one of your rear guards, and that unit gets a skill of when this unit dies at the end of your turn, draw a card. So basically, put him in the soul. Give a rear guard the ability when the rear guard dies at the end of the turn, draw a card. So he is useful when you break right or when you want to combo off with other skills to help you draw cards. So he is very good. He's quite versatile because you can use him early as well as late game to help you draw cards and sort of filter through your deck to get things you need. Even though it's a -1. And the good thing is he's a 5k base, unlike grade 3 searches. Grade 3 searches are 4k base. Yeah, anyways. So next, let's look at Minette. Minette's skill is kind of complicated, but also very good. So his skill is his Limit Break 4 skill, activate during main phase, Counter Blast 2, and then choose one of your rear guards, and that unit gets 4k until end of that turn. And at the end of the turn, draw 1 card and then retire that unit. So skill, Counter Blast 2, something gets 4k. That thing dies at the end of turn, you draw a card. And since it's an activate skill, you can stack it. So you can actually Counter Blast 4, give 2 units 4k, or you can give the same unit 4k, and when he dies, you draw 2 cards because you use his skill twice. So if you read the skill properly, it says draw a card and then retire that unit. It does not say that for every unit that is retired with this skill, draw 1 card. No. So essentially, you can use his skill to stack it on 1 unit. That unit dies, you draw 2 cards. So essentially, you -1 plus 2. So with his skill, if you Counter Blast 4, you gain a +1. But of course, that is kind of stupid because Counter Blast 4 is a very hefty cost. But there are ways to unflip damage in this deck, which is his second skill, Auto. During your end phase, when a rear guard is put into the drop zone, unflip 1 damage. So when you use his skill, or every turn, you want things to die. As I mentioned earlier, Great Nature in this deck, you want things to die because when things die, things happen. So this is one of the skills. When something dies, you unflip damage, which is really good. So you can actually you can spam his skill almost every turn, because even though his skill is Counter Blast 2, you may think, oh, you can only use it twice a game. But no, with the unflipping available in this deck and with his own skill, you can probably use his skill every single turn, maybe even twice a turn, which is really good. So yeah, good card. Allows you to is a good draw engine as well as a good unflipping method. And when you combo his skill with other units in this deck, you can actually gain a lot of pluses and draws. Even though your unit dies, you still draw a lot. Next is the Break Right. So this is one of the complicated skills, which I explained in my previous video. But anyways, yeah, When you write a Great Nature writes over him, okay, the unit gains 10k, and he gets the skill auto of when your Great Nature Rearguard attacks a Vanguard, choose one of your Great Nature Rearguard, and until end of turn, that unit gets 4k. Okay. Yeah, you have to do it. It's not a may. Choose one of your rearguards. You must choose, and that unit gets 4k. And at the end of the turn, draw a card and retire that unit. So when you break right, your new unit gets 10k and the skill where whenever any rearguard attacks, you can give something 4k, draw a card, and that guy dies. So if you notice, it stacks. So whenever a rearguard attacks, you draw a card. Whenever a rearguard attacks, give 4k. Whenever you give 4k, that unit dies. So if I'll probably go through this more detail later on with the stand triggers. But in one turn, potentially you can draw 3 cards with the break skill. So even though the break skill says, oh, whenever rearguard attacks, draw a card, and you may think, oh, only 2 attacks, you can only draw 2 cards. But no, when you have a stand trigger, you restand, that unit attacks again and give 4k, and you can draw another card. Also, do note that his skill says that give a Great Nature 4k. So it doesn't specify which rearguard to give 4k to. So you can give, when your rearguard attacks, you can give 4k to himself. So let's say you break right, this guy attacks, you can choose to give 4k to himself. So now he's a 15k. So yeah, that's one. Next, Binoculars Tiger. So his skill is on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. So when this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose another Rearguard and give 4k. So him, you can't use his power to give himself 4k. You must use him to give 4k to someone else. So when he attacks, give 4k, and if you do, that guy dies. So yeah, you may. So when he attacks the Vanguard, you can choose to give 4k to a unit, and that unit dies. Next is Hamsuke. So when this guy is placed into the drop zone during your end phase, Card plus 1, search your deck for another copy of him. So when he dies, you can get him back in your hand from the deck. So if you notice, if you combo this with his skill or the break skill, he dies, draw a card, search another of him into the deck. So essentially you +2 even though you're -1. So yeah, your hand size grows. Next, Compass Lion. At the beginning of the end phase, choose a rearguard and retire it. So even though he's a 11k base, which is good for grade 2, and even though his skill says that at the end of every turn you must retire a unit, but it's good. As I mentioned, you want things to die, and when things die, things happen. So when he is on the field, as a Vanguard, his skill will force something to die, but at least you activate his skill to unflip. So yeah, another combo you can do that. Next, Wash Up Raccoon skill. So Wash Up Raccoon skill is similar to Hamsuke. So when he dies at the end of turn, Card plus 1, and you put 3 grade 1 or greater Great Nature cards into the except not named Raccoon into the deck, and search your deck for a Wash Up Raccoon. So he is like Hamsuke's skill. He's a nice 7k base booster. When he dies, you can search a copy of him, and you can put 3 cards back into the deck. Well, 3 non-trigger cards back into the deck. They are not him. So you can actually, on a turn when they both die, you can use his skill to put Hamsuke back in the deck. Then use Hamsuke's skill to search for another Hamsuke in the deck if you run out of Hamsuke in the deck. So which is quite good. So you can actually recycle cards really well in this deck. And there's some like nifty, because in Vanguard, when skills activate at the same time, you can choose which order to activate them. So in this deck, a lot of skill will happen at the same time at the end of your turn. And because of that ruling, you can choose which one to do first, and you can actually get to draw a lot of cards if you do it right. So Dark Beetle skill. When you call him out, give a rearguard a skill that when that rearguard dies, draw a card. As you can see, another skill that activates when something dies. So if you combo this with this, and then with this and break right, essentially, when one unit dies, you can draw 4 cards. One from him, one from him, one from the back right, and one from his own skill. That's 4 cards when one unit dies. So good. Soul Staff skill. When this unit dies at the end of turn, you can Soul Blast 1 and flip 2 damage. So when you combo with this guy, he dies, Soul Blast 1, unflip 2, his skill, he dies, unflip another one. So essentially you unflip 3 damage when this guy dies. Yeah, if you have this, which is so good. So you can actually use 4 counterblast in that turn and unflip 3 just by letting this guy die. So if you notice, a lot of skills combo with each other, and it is quite complicated to determine what order to do things. So I will then now explain some combos you can use and how you can get a lot of draws. So yeah. Okay, so now I'll explain the combo between the Break Right and Minette and explain to you how and why the skills actually stack and you can actually draw a lot of cards. Okay, so on this turn, let's just say your field is like this, okay? And let's just ignore some other skills that happen when a unit dies, and let's just focus on these two guys' skills, okay? So Break Right skill, I'll just remind you again. His skill is that when a unit rides on him, that unit gains 10k, and the ability that whenever a rearguard attacks, you can give 4k to any rearguard, and at the end of turn, draw a card and retire that unit you gave power to. Okay, so when you Break Right, okay, he gains 10k and the skill. Okay, Minette skill, I'll remind you once again. Counterblast 2, give a unit 4k. At the end of turn, draw a card and kill that unit. Okay, so let's just say our deck is like this now. Okay, so I use his skill once, Counterblast 1. So now that is activation number 1. So you give, let's say I give 4k to this guy. Okay, so now this activation 1. Therefore, at the end of turn, you activate the skill to draw a card and kill this guy once. Let's use his skill again, second time, Counterblast 2. Let's just say you give 4k to the same guy. So his skill now activates twice. At the end of turn, resolve them twice. First time, draw 1 card, kill this guy. Second time, draw 1 card as well, and also kill this guy. But since he's dead, he's already dead. Now, so at the end of turn, to resolve his skill, what you do is you draw 1, 2, and then he dies. Okay, because his skill says that draw 1 card, retire that unit. So you draw 1 card, retire this unit, and then draw 1 card and retire that unit. But since that unit is already retired, you can't retire it. So based on Vanguard ruling, you will resolve a skill as far as you can. So in the end, you use his skill twice, you draw 2, and since this guy dies, his second skill activates and flip 1. Okay, so now that's his skill. Now let's talk about his Break Right skill. Okay, the Break Right. So let's say you Break Right and you do 4 counterblast. When he attacks, use your Break Right skill, give 4k, let's say I give 4k to this guy. So the Break Right skill activates once. Give 4k, at the end of turn, draw, and retire that unit. So 3 things will happen at the end of the turn. Next, I attack with the Vanguard. Let's just say I drive check, a stand trigger, restand him. Okay. Next, let's say I attack with him again. Break Right skill activates the second time. Let's say I give 4k to him. Okay. So the second activation will entitle you to draw another card and kill that guy. Let's say I attack with this guy. Now Break Right skill happens again. Let's say I give 4k to him. Now the Break Right skill activates the third time. Give 4k, draw a card, retire. So at the end of turn, you use the Break Right skill. Draw 1 card, retire this guy. So that's first activation. Sorry, no, first activation. Second activation, draw a card. Power was given here. Kill this guy. Third activation, draw a card. This guy dies. Minette skill also will still activate because it has already been activated because you counterblast 4. Draw a card for Minette's first activation. Draw another card for Minette's second activation. And since 3 units die, unflip 3. So just with the Break Right and Minette skill combined together, you can draw 5 cards if you get a stand trigger. 3 from the Break Right skill if you restand. 2 from Minette skill if you use Minette skill twice. Now let us continue to add more combos in. Let's say we use W skill. We give the power to this guy. He dies, you draw another card. So now there's another card you can draw. Let's just say you use your starter. to give the ability to something else. That guy dies, you draw another card. And let's just say now you use Wash Up Raccoon skill. Count plus 1, search him from the deck. There's another card you drawn. And let's just say somehow you had Hamsuke as well. Hamsuke died, count plus 1 again, put another Hamsuke in your soul. Let's just say now you have this guy as well. He dies, unflip 2. So in that turn alone, look at how much you drew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or even more. So on the break right turn, if everything goes well, you have the potential to draw that many cards. And that is why, my friends, Great Nature is a very good card, a very good deck to play. But due to its technicality in terms of skill orders and resolving skills, it can be quite challenging to play and to use it effectively. But as I've shown, look at that. You draw all that. And if you watch my video of the match I had with this deck, you would see that it's true. You draw a lot of cards. So ideally, break right turn, you have this guy, you have this guy, you have this guy, you have Hamsuke, you have Wash Up Raccoon. And ideally, you get a stand trigger. So there you can draw 3 from the back right, 2 from Minette skill, 1, 2 from these 2 skills, 3 from Dark Build skill. If you have more Dark Build, you draw even more. Yeah, so you can potentially draw 10 cards or more. And also if you use your starter as well, there's another card drawn. Oh, also, yeah. And if you have more Dark Build, you draw even more. And you can potentially unflip all 4 damage. And you can use Minette skill again next turn. So yeah, so this has been a look at my friend's Minette skill, deck. It is a very, very good deck, and it takes a lot of skill to play and run it effectively. And for people who knows how to use this skill really well and who are very clear with Vanguard rules resolving, as well as how to combo all these things together, this deck is actually very good because number one, you have a decent offensive power, which because you give 4k to units, and some of your columns can actually be really nice numbers. Number 2, you have very, very good defensive power because you draw a lot of cards. So yeah, so this has been a look at my friend's deck. Hopefully you guys understand my explanation. And if you enjoyed the video, please like. If you have any questions about how things work, and if you want me to explain in more detail, do comment below or ask below. And if you like my content, do subscribe. And thank you for watching. This has been LJS, and I'll see you guys next time.